I think if we move now into smaller group discussions, and if your question hasn't been answered, then we can come back to it in the plenary, if you're happy with that.
I am. Yeah.
Thanks, Callum. Okay, so Naomi is now going to put us into breakout groups, smaller groups. And this really is a chance for you to say, well, what are your reactions to this plan? Do you think it provides opportunities for you that didn't exist before? What are those opportunities? But, you know, what support will you need? And I think we've started to move in the direction of speaking about that. But what support do you think will be needed to help you engage more with this agenda? So Naomi, I don't know whether you're there and able to put us into smaller groups.
Yes, I've just created 3 groups, so there's between 6 and 7
Brilliant.
people in each group. So there'll be either myself, Kirsten, or Julie facilitating the breakout group. And I've put the Jamboard link in the chat as well, but all of the facilitators can help with sharing their screen and inputting into the Jamboard. So I'll just open them up now, and I've set them for just over 10 minutes, if that's okay, Betsy.
That's fantastic. Hi there. Great to see you all coming back into the room again. Sorry, that is such an abrupt end to a conversation. And really sorry that the conversations were so short as well, because I know from looking at what was going on to those Jamboards that there was a lot more that I'm sure a lot more time could have been spent. Let's hear from each of the groups. Now, Julie, I don't know if you've managed to get back in again.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Oh, great. I think you were the first group one.
Yeah, so we were. I'm happy to kind of summarize, but if anyone else in the group would like to, please just feel free. We kind of talked about a potential sense that the plan maybe feels like they ran out of time to be as truly inclusive as we would like it to be. So that kind of being a bit of a challenge, but probably a bit of an opportunity for next iterations to keep building on what's in there at the moment. Another kind of wee challenge maybe if this is going to create extra work or time commitments, and maybe a burden on potential organisations that are quite small, and if this feels forced, that's not necessarily the kind of organic way that we would want to see it. And just does this kind of formalising of learning for sustainability maybe risk goodwill of volunteers, again coming back to that kind of time commitment if you've got a small organisation. We talked about positives being that there's opportunities for like that kind of inclusion of CLD and youth work, but some things need a bit more thought in terms of mentoring and accessing portals. And a really important one is that nothing sits behind needing a Glow login. You know, just making sure that everything that comes out of this plan is accessible for everybody. Talked a bit about that, and the kind of need to recognise work. Sorry, I'm just reading one of the Jamboards. Need to recognise the work around disinformation around climate justice and related issues, and I suppose that comes into the things we've seen in the political realm over the past week or so in terms of the comments on net zero and things. So that kind of political literacy element coming back through there as well. And a need to resource this work in a meaningful way to make sure it can become central to education of teachers and CLD staff, both current and future. I'll leave it there, but if anyone else in the group wants to jump in, please feel free.
Thanks very much, Julie, and doing that to time as well, which is so hard when you've had a conversation.
Not like me.
It's impressive. Thank you. So if I head into, I think Kirsten, perhaps you were group 2?
Yes, I was. And like Julie, if anyone else wants to chip in from group 2, that would be fantastic. So there was a warmth towards the plan, which was very evident, and lots of really good feedback for both Julie and Andrea in terms of the way in which you've articulated the plan today. I think folk found it really, really useful, really, really clear, and quite exciting in terms of the opportunities that you were outlining and the way in which it's aligning with practice already. So thank you for that clarity. I think that's gone down really well. A couple of comments around the fact it's nice to see all of this sort of coalescing now in terms of the ambition of LfS being broadened to include the sort of wider community, wider CLD and youth work arena, and that's sort of been an evolution over the past 10 years since the concept of LfS was brought into being. Some comments around how useful it was to understand the broader nuances of what is meant by LfS. I think there's still some gaps in perhaps folks' perceptions of what we actually mean by learning for sustainability. So that came across the fact that, you know, again, going back to the way in which you both articulated that was seen as really, really useful to sort of look at all of the different potential topics and themes and ideas that sit underneath that umbrella. In terms of opportunities, it's a really nice input from a teacher who was saying that, you know, this was actually inspiring her to work with youth work and CLD organisations in terms of making the ambitions of Target 2030 part of the reality of her setting. So already starting to think about how those kind of two settings of learning can work together. Particularly from the learner perspective, you know, so that the learner's learning experience isn't just the 5 or 6 hours that they have within the school setting, but they're getting similar messaging and support around LfS when they're out with the school gates, as it were, so that there's a kind of continuity in all the different learning experiences that a young person has in their daily life. A good comment around how we an opportunity for youth workers is this idea of how we support young people to exercise and achieve the agency that they have. You know, really how we as CLD practitioners can do that. You know, it's an ideal opportunity to support that sense of agency. In terms of challenges, there was a need perhaps to make the plan a bit more accessible. As it stands, it's a fairly weighty document, so how do we make sure it's accessible to everybody in terms of what resonates for children and young people and educators, particularly in the call to action. So how do we do that? Looking again, picking up what Julie was saying, this idea of resource. How do we resource this? How do we join the dots with other policy reform that's out there? And really make sure we all understand what is meant by a sustainable learning setting. If that's the ambition by 2030, then what is it we're actually aiming to do? And also a point around consciously making sure that this is seen as everyone's responsibility, so not just particular practitioners with a passion for sustainability or particular learner groups. I hope that's summarised the discussion. I think we're going to leave the Jamboards open after the session, aren't we, Betsy? If folks have comments they want to pop on post-session, then we'll still be able to do that. But thank you very much, Group 2, for a really good discussion. Short but sweet.
Thanks, Kirsten. You've done very well with time as well. So over to you, Naomi.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be equally good.
I'll try and be brief. I know we've only got a couple of minutes left. So yeah, the initial reactions to the plan were all quite positive. The group felt like LfS is something that youth workers are doing already. That was a very detailed plan and very clear on which organisations are being called to action. And it was also very clear that the LfS isn't just something that happens within formal education settings, but it's very much embedded within youth work practice. Some of the opportunities included, so the sharing of best practice examples was something that was really welcomed by the group as well. They felt that having those sort of case studies would really be really beneficial. Also working with external partners who already deliver a lot of climate, environmental or sustainability related activities, which Andrea touched on in her presentation as well, so bringing in external partners to strengthen youth work practice. We also chatted a lot about having more training for the youth work sector, and also just empowering youth workers and staff to build their confidence and to be able to sort of push the boundaries a little bit more. I think there was kind of a bit of a language of fear even in some of the group members around politically engaging young people, particularly within climate action. It's maybe a space that youth workers don't feel particularly confident in, or would like more knowledge in making sure that is a safe space that they can encourage young people into. There are lots of opportunities around embedding LfS into the small day-to-day practices, and then the sort of main challenges that we touched on were focused around the language of LfS, which I know is a key point that's come out of the research from Children's Parliament and the University of Dundee, that it felt like there was a lot of jargon that still needs to be distilled in a way that can be easily communicated, not just to youth workers but also to young people that they're working with. So yeah, being able to kind of distill the language a bit more effectively. So yeah, I'll stop there as I know we're out of time. Thank you to Group 3.
Thank you very much. As you say, we're almost, in fact, we are on the 1:15. But I wanted to just say thank you to everyone who has participated in this session, and particularly to our presenters, Julie and Andrea too, for really bringing this to life. And I hope that what it has done is started to prepare you for this call to action, which is coming on the 5th of October. Started you thinking about how you can contribute. So this really is the start of something that is continuing practice, but strengthening and taking it forward in a way which is bringing everybody together as part of a movement for change. And if you do have good things to share, then we really want everybody to know about them. There is lots of good practice, and please do follow that link which has been put into the chat to share your good practice. And I know that this will contribute to the portal. And I think just finishing really with what Andrea said about, actually, once you start thinking about this being about building a socially just, sustainable and equitable society, then yes, it's something that we all want to be part of. And can all understand wherever we are in Scotland, globally. So that's an important movement. It's just, yeah, I think, thank you for contributing to this, and there's lots more to do. This is something that is going to go further. So thank you. We're now at 12:17, so apologies for taking a couple of extra minutes, but thanks for joining.